The sheen starting to wear off of Xbox Game Pass, third-party sales tanking on Xbox alone. This is definitely some troubling news if you're an Xbox fan or if you're Microsoft. This is definitely a video you won't want to miss. Hey there everyone, I'm the Crapgamer, and this of course is Crapgamer Reviews, your home for gaming news, opinions, reviews, and much more. You'll probably notice a few cool changes around here, but that shouldn't stop you from giving us a like and possibly consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. Thank you so much for choosing to spend some of your free time with me and my silly YouTube channel. Now, on to today's topic, because I feel like this is something that everybody is talking about, and a lot of people don't know the extent of this or the meaning of this. So when we look at Xbox's numbers, Microsoft's numbers, and you see Xbox hardware revenue grew 166% year on year, driving 16% growth for Microsoft's gaming business, it sounds good on the outside. But what you have to understand is Microsoft is very, very good at hiding things and hiding numbers. What does all of this mean? Well, the growth itself year on year isn't exactly what you would think of. This is being compared to the very last quarter where Xbox One was the only console, its lowest point the whole generation. So, and this is what the third quarterly report in a row where Microsoft had to admit that software sales were down. Specifically, third-party software sales, something which should be up considering the growth, but it reflects what was known and predicted, that Game Pass has really devastated software sales on the Xbox platform. So I think this is something that a lot of people are starting to notice, and a lot of people are taking kind of a note with. So today, Microsoft, or actually yesterday, Microsoft announced its financial results for the first quarter of fiscal year 2022, related to the period of July 1st, 2021 and September 30th. The presentation included an update on the performance of the more personal computing business, which includes Microsoft's gaming division and the Xbox brand. We learned that revenue for gaming business as a whole grew 16%, $501 million year on year. Xbox content and services revenue remained relatively flat, with only 2% growth due to strong comparable releases during the same period last year. Basically, what this means is, because I know a lot of people are arguing with the 2% thing, the 2% meaning flat, that's their whole services sector, right? Not Game Pass alone. So people that are saying, oh, well, 2% growth, no. Basically, it means that Game Pass has gone relatively unchanged, and that's their own words, by the way, that Game Pass has gone relatively unchanged in terms of growth over the quarter year on year. So Microsoft mentions that revenue from Game Pass subscriptions and first-party games grew year on year, but it was partially offset by decline for third-party game revenue. The lion's share belongs to Xbox's hardware revenue, which grew 166% year on year, driven by continued demand for Xbox Series X and the S, according to them, compared to low performance in the same period last year. So like I said at the beginning of the video, the reason why it's growing 166%, of course it would. You have new consoles versus the Xbox One, and you have to remember that last year this time, the Xbox One X and the Xbox All Digital were both discontinued by this point. So the only console that you were able to actually go out there and buy would be an Xbox One S, and even then, I think those were hard to come by. I think they had drastically slowed down a lot of what was going on with the actual construction of those things. So when we look at what Microsoft has, we can see that it's not exactly as cut and dry or as this big success as a lot of what they're trying to really let people understand. So Xbox content and services revenue grew 2%, according to them and their own words, relatively unchanged on a strong prior year, with growth on Xbox Game Pass subscriptions and first-party titles offset by declines from third-party titles itself. And again, hardware was up, but again, we have an idea of why hardware was up, for the simple fact that it's a new console, and this is something that people are starting to kind of come into play. Now, Sony's going to release their information very soon as well, and I think that that's going to be something that everybody's going to look at with a fine-tooth comb as well. Now, listen, for some reason, people are picking up on this story that Sony are losing millions of subscribers on PlayStation Plus. This was actually a story from August, and I covered this, and I mentioned it's not just Sony that lost millions of subscribers. It'd be foolish to think that Microsoft didn't lose subscribers with Game Pass once lockdown started ending for everybody. So, a lot of people are out there probably wondering, what the big deal is, and they're going to go the typical route and say Microsoft is fine. They're a $1 trillion company, and they are. But anybody with any kind of keen sense has to understand that if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. Microsoft downplay the importance of console sales, right? I'm sure that everybody could agree with me on that. They completely downplay sales of Xbox consoles. They do, because they're like, play anywhere on anything you want, any way you want, any smartwatch you want, whatever you want, any phone and tablet and all this kind of stuff, right? They do that. They say that. They live, they die by that as well. The problem with this kind of assertion is that they were always going to live or die by how many consoles they sell, because the hardware is where people are going to mostly get Game Pass. I don't see a lot of people spending $180 a year to rent the ability to stream games over a phone. That's just not a good way to play. It's not a fun way to play. It's not. And I don't see a lot of people doing it. I don't care if Game Pass is on everything that we get, right? Game Pass could be on every TV, every watch, every phone, every tablet, but it's just not a good way to play. And people are obviously recognizing this. The majority of people that are going to play Xbox games and get Xbox Game Pass are going to be on hardware. They're going to be on Xbox consoles, or they're going to be on PC. And it looks like a lot of the PC crowd ignore Xbox for the simple fact that or Windows, because they don't like the Windows Store, so they would rather use Steam and buy the games, which you might go is a good thing. It is, but when Microsoft hasn't released a stellar first-party lineup and third parties are starting to stay more and more, a lot of people are saying, I'll wait for that game to go on Game Pass. Now, a good example of this is I bought Guardians of the Galaxy on Xbox Series X. Reason being, I hadn't really been playing my Xbox a lot. I had been spending much more time on my PlayStation 5, and it just feels like a waste to me. So I bought Guardians of the Galaxy on Xbox. And I gotta say, I called it being a surprise hit and a really surprising good game because it looked really good. And the fact of the matter to me personally is that so many people tried to tell me when I was playing this, right? And I'm sharing screenshots and it looks good. I'm telling people how good it is. You'd be surprised at how many people actually told me, you know what? I'm going to wait because I think it might come to Game Pass. Now, this is actually starting to show up more and more in what Microsoft does. And the reason why it's starting to show up more and more is because what's happening is people are starting to go, not only do you see Game Pass leveling off, meaning it's capped by how many people have an Xbox, and we're going to start to see that in even more trouble because next year, the games that Microsoft have scheduled to release on Game Pass are next gen only, meaning it's really a pointless thing to have Game Pass if you're still on a last gen console, because you're not going to be able to play even if you're interested in something like Redfall or Starfield, or even if Forza Motorsport does manage to release. Those are all current gen only games, so it makes no sense if you don't have a current gen console or PC to have Game Pass. So they could see a loss in subscribers next year as well, and that's going to be a dangerous situation. We all should very much pay attention to this because nobody else is talking about this. Nobody else is looking into the insight as much as I am on this, because it's very keenly important, because I don't think Microsoft has a backup plan if Xbox Game Pass fails to produce or fails to do what they wanted to do. And that's something that, I guess we should all worry about, because you see so many people just saying, hey, well, I'll wait to see if it comes on Game Pass. I think that that's probably sort of the wrong situation for everybody to kind of look at and for everybody to get into. I personally feel like that is not the right mindset to have as a gamer. Us fans should definitely be out there saying, hey, you know what? I think that I should, if there's a game that I want, I'm going to get that game, right? Like, I just feel like it's crazy to believe that Microsoft has changed and conditioned so many people already into thinking that buying video games is a bad thing and that you should only rent them or whatever. And I think that more and more people are starting to live by that. I've actually interacted with people that have said to me, you know what? I'm going to wait till it comes to Game Pass, or I haven't bought a game in over a year or 2 years. That's not helping anybody. And, we haven't seen any kind of results, but we're starting to, in terms of Game Pass actually helping sales. Now it's looking like it's directly hurting sales and hurting third parties. So we have proof of this now. It's not a good thing. And, I think it could definitely be hurting Microsoft long term. With that being said, I'm going to link this. You guys can check it out. Let me know. Are you worried about this? If you enjoy the content, consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, Crapgamer 'em up. Crapgamer out.
Turns out, the same people as always, dropping the facts. It's not cross-gen.